You might remember an exclusive story we did last week on domestic violence and what to do if your mate is a police officer. Well, now the attorney for that police officer wants you to hear their side of the story. Here's News Channel 8's Wes Small with more details.
Last week, we aired a story, and the topic was domestic violence. What happens when you're involved with a partner who wears a badge, pretty much. And now I'm here with attorney Amelia Joseph, who's going to give the other side of the story, who represents, in this case, the man with the badge involved in a domestic issue. Thank you very much, Ms. Joseph, for giving your side of the story. And what you heard, you saw the story in its entirety, you and your client, and what is your response into that story?
Well, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I represent the police officer who was referred to on the Friday news story, and she claimed that she was abused by this officer, and I just need to set the record straight because a lot of things that were said, it didn't really happen. On January 5th, 2009, my client, the police officer, filed a domestic violence complaint against that young lady. When she received the complaint, she went and filed a complaint against him. And she said in that complaint that 10 months previous to that, he had pulled a gun on her and threatened her in front of her child. Right. And that just simply wasn't true. The case was heard before Judge Steele, and it was dismissed with prejudice. It was over. On July of this year, she filed another complaint. And this time she said that he threatened her over the telephone. It was heard before Judge Camacho. He heard the testimony, he saw the evidence, and he dismissed it. And then she comes to Channel 8. So I just want the public to know that there are instances of domestic violence, but this particular case was not one of them. And I wanted to mention one other thing. Yes. With the problem she mentioned about the child going to the United States, and that's simply not true. She had the telephone number, she knew where he was, and when he comes back, she knows when he's coming, and there's not going to be any problems because his interest is the children and their welfare and their well-being, and he's going to do everything he can to make sure his children are happy.
That's good. Well, that's a great statement, and hopefully that these young people can work everything out, especially for the children. Thank you very much for sharing time with us.
Thank you. Goodbye.
I'm Wes Small for News Channel 8.
The Virgin Islands Police Department needs your help in locating Daryl Hagan. She's been wanted for bilking many checks from Virgin Islands businesses. Here's the Virgin Islands Police Department spokesperson Melody Rames with more on this story.
Police on St. Croix have issued a wanted poster for Daryl Hagan, who is charged with drawing and delivering worthless checks and obtaining money by false pretenses. Hagan is a 37-year-old white female and the operator of Caribbean Promo Mart Company, located in Estate Castle, Coakley. Insular investigation detectives said Hagan operated Caribbean Promo Mart and victimized many in the community by issuing more than $10,000 in worthless Caribbean Promo Mart checks. Daryl E. Hagan was born on St. Croix. She is a Caucasian female, 5 foot 8 inches tall, slim built with blonde hair and blue eyes. She drives a 2003 white Ford Taurus with the license plate number CDZ 228. If you know the whereabouts of Daryl E. Hagan, please call 911, the Insular Investigation Bureau at 643-5967, or Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS.
Thanks, Melody. And a story you can't believe is coming up next on News Channel 8. Stay with us. On St. Thomas, Lee Carl has uncovered an interesting scam going on around gas stations in the area. Here's News Channel 8's Lee Carl from St. Thomas with more on this.
We're out here at the parking lot at 22 Park Mall, where every once in a while, residents have told me that a man in a maroon vehicle, along with a woman, comes up to someone and says, "Could you please give me some money? I ran out of gas." Interesting. Okay. All right. That might be a legitimate situation. But when it happens 2 or 3 or 4 times and the woman changes her tune to, "I need a prescription, can I have some money?" The begging, if that's the word to use here, turns more into what is considered to be a scam. Now, the information I have so far, to be on the lookout for a male or female in a maroon vehicle with a license number David D 9856. And their modus operandi is, as I said before, simply to drive up to someone, or at least walk up to someone and say, "I've run out of gas, can I have some money?" And that turns out to be more than just begging. It turns out to be a scam when it's been done to at least a number of people. Not only here at the 2-2 parking lot, but also in some other areas. In St. Thomas at 2-2 Park Mall, Lee Carl for News Channel 8.
Thanks, Lee Carl. And imagine a drunk driver running into your store. Now imagine 2 drunk drivers hitting your store twice. Well, keep imagining, because News Channel 8's Wes Small brings you a story you won't believe.
Thank you, Jerome. It was a rough weekend for drunk drivers, especially senior citizens. Now, you might remember that on St. Croix, the V.I.P.D held a drunk driving campaign this weekend. But, boy, here at the Valley Mini Mart in the State Glen, you're not going to believe what happened. Not once, but twice. Let's start with Rolston Friday. He's 69 years old, around 8:40. Actually, it was pretty innocent. He tried to pull in here and just park, but he was toasted. He was a little bit over the limit, and he just kept going, is what he did, and he just crashed into this area right here, trying to park. He collided into the wall there, and he was arrested and charged with drunk driving. What's going to happen next, folks? You're not going to believe. Less than 24 hours later, at this same grocery store, 55-year-old Ernesto Monell, around 7 o'clock, crashed right through here, what used to be glass doors. That's why you see Eddie's glass here, right? They're still working here. But now you're really going to be surprised, because after he crashed through here, everyone, the place was in here screaming and everything. "Sir, are you all right? What's going on?" He backed up, and the cameraman is going to pan across the street. Look at this. He backed up across the street, and then he did it again. He came through again. Mr. Monell did again. I'm not kidding you. I just talked to the owner, and crashed through again. Look at this. Well, you're not going to believe this one, folks. He did it again. He backed up again. I'm not going to ask the cameraman to go back across the street, but trust me, he did it again. And then he came back in again for the 3rd time. Unbelievable. Right through what used to be glass doors. The owner has had to sleep here on the over the weekend for 2 days to secure his store. But let's get back to Mr. Monell. Then they all came and said, "What are you doing?" Not once or twice, but 3 times. When the police said, "Why did you do it?" he just started to cry. And they carted him off to jail. Who knows what was going through his mind, but I got to tell you, this poor store saw 2 drive-through incidents, and when I say drive-through, they really drove through. And that's not all. 65-year-old David Arnold was out at 3:10 in the morning over the weekend. He was charged with driving drunk, reckless driving, and yes, he crashed into a concrete wall too. What happened this weekend? Was it full moon or what with the senior citizens and drunk driving? We're at a State Glen where they definitely don't need this type of publicity on News Channel 8.
And Wes Small also wants to remind the public out there that fortunately no one was hurt in any of those incidents that occurred in front of that store. And when we come back from this break, we'll take a look at your Sports 411 update with Stephen Koo Francis.